and the Lions Club, our scholarship program for high school students and more. Next Tuesday, our club is meeting for our annual allocation meeting, and we have to say no to all of this because we don't have the money because we lost our money. So I beg this board to reconsider and help us get our parent back. Thank you very much.
So moved. Motion by Mr. Green, support by Mr. Earl. All in favor? Aye.
Okay, the meeting is called back to order at 3:18 p.m. As it regards to the item discussed under audience participation, I would like to ask that Henry Bowman speak to that issue briefly under item 6A under new business.
Okay.
Henry, we're not there yet.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, any other audience participation? Okay, hearing or seeing no other audience participation, I move to item 5, approval of minutes, April 6, 2011 and March 30th, 2011.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Green,
Support.
support by Mr. Spencer. Discussion. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 6, new business. Item 6A, request from Parks and Rec Director to discuss festival account and spending. Mr. Bowman.
Okay, thank you, Henry Bowman, Warren Parks and Recreation Director. First off, I'd like to talk regarding the Rotary Carnival that was on these grounds. Just give you a little bit of backup. Approximately 4 years ago, the Universal Mall went into, where the Rotary Carnival was always at, went into a remodeling type situation. It was a one-year agreement that this board said, yes, the Rotary Carnival can move here for the 1 year while the Universal Mall property is being redone. At that point, we're looking at this as a great opportunity to add a new event to the city and build an event for everybody to enjoy. Well, that 1 year did become 3 years right here at City Square. What happened was during that third year, we were having a lot of problems with the businesses that are located right around the City Square, namely the Holiday Inn Express. They were very unhappy with the carnival being there. We had a lot of situations dealing with that. At that point, it was at that time the director, Gina Cavalier, and myself sat down and said, you know what, this carnival is not working on this site. We need to find a new location. And at the same time, we were in discussions with a new event, and Mary, you'll remember this, with a new event going from 8 Mile and Van Dyke all the way to 26 Mile and Van Dyke called Van Dyke in Motion, working with all the different communities. So we're looking at doing an event where it's not a classic car cruise, but anyways, that's a whole nother subject. So we're looking at funding mechanisms for this type of event also. So when the carnival came up, 3 years, I went up to the then president, Lee, God, I forget his last name now. Lee Carbola, who was then the president, and I let him know, Lee, we're looking at doing a new event at City Square. This is, you know, you've been here for 3 years at this point. You guys are going to need to try and find a new location for your carnival. And Lee was, you know, obviously, and I did share this information with the full club at that point. And then, you know, I did a little bit of follow-up at that point. I know that the club was looking at Macomb Community College. I know that that did fall through on the club. But the last thing I had heard, they were looking at Hazel Park Raceway. That was the last thing I heard about the club finding a spot. I didn't know really if they were turned down or not. I was not involved. I hadn't been to a meeting, hadn't gone at all. And then this year, the whole goal was is that we could not use that site. That was the problem. The owner of that Holiday Inn Express did not want the carnival there. But when we had 15 inches of rain, the site we were going to use, the old City Hall site, became, it was not going to be good to move a carnival on that site. So I went over and spoke to Namir, and also the carnival owner went over and spoke to him and worked out, it's just we can't put the carnival there. That's why it ended up back at that spot. So at this, at this point, it became a city event, and we were working. This is when we did our veterans event, a Relay for Life, and just trying to build more things and to help, to build new events right here at City Square.
Excuse me, Henry, can
Yes.
I just clarify something?
Yes.
Did you have any kind of an agreement with the Rotary Club where they would be able to work at the City Hall site indefinitely? Was there
Never.
any kind of agreement?
Never.
Was there
Matter of fact,
any
it was a
kind of
one-year agreement.
Contract or anything signed? Because I was impressed with Mike Taylor and also with the other gentleman, Michael Kraus. Obviously, they feel like this was their key generator, and obviously Rotary Club does good things, and they have the feeling that this was promised to them forever. At least that's the impression I got. Did you communicate with them? Did you talk with them and say this was only a temporary thing? In other words, what we need to know, was there a contract? Was there any commitment made that this was going to be indefinite? Because I feel bad. They say that they lost $100,000 and now they can't give all these good things to people. And part of the reason I asked that, I think we have to have a policy regarding charitable events. We do have the Lions Club that comes here. So I don't want the Rotary Club or any club to feel that we're favoring one charitable event over another.
Right.
So how do we determine that the Lions can come but the Rotary can't come? And there are other charitable events, so how do we pick and choose one charitable group over another?
We don't. In the same sense, I can clarify for us, for everybody, what the role of the DDA is. That's just our property. We don't approve who goes on the property or whose fair is there. That's not the vote. This DDA never voted to, as was implied, not have the Rotary Club be on the DDA property for the fair. That was never an agenda item. It was never brought to us. We never voted no for the Rotary Club. So I'm just curious. Our role as a DDA, though, is
Landlords.
Somebody voted no. Somebody said no.
Well, you know what? I'll take all the heat on that no, because it was me that came up sitting, with
Did you
Gina
give
Kevin.
them a notice, and did you send them a letter saying why?
We did not send him a letter. I did tell the president of the Rotary Club over a year ago that they would not be able to come back to the
But you
carnival.
never sent them any correspondence?
We did not, and we did not receive a correspondence requesting the site either.
Okay, I think what I'd like to ask, because we have a regular board meeting, I think you should come up with a report for us on what was done in the past and what needs to be done in the future. And I think we have to look at the fact that we ought to be fair to all charitable clubs. The Lions Club does have this. I don't know how we can say to the Lions Club, you can have this, but we can't allow the Rotary Club to do it. In other words, there ought to be some policy, or maybe we should alternate it. Maybe one year it's the Lions, then it's the Rotary, then it's the Optimist or what have you, but we've got to treat everybody fairly. And I'm very concerned with what Mike Taylor said and what Michael Kraus said. I mean, I want this to be a fair thing. I don't want to deny any charitable organization an opportunity to earn money, but I think we have to have some fair policy, and I think the policy has to be in writing.
Okay.
So I think you need to give us your report, and then come back, give me a report, and we have to decide on some policy, because I don't want a good group. Rotary Club is an outstanding group. They do good things. I don't want to see them denied the opportunity to raise some money, but I think maybe we need to alternate it. One year it's the Lions, the next year it's Rotary, the next year it's Optimist or what have you. But I think everybody has a right to participate and get their charitable, piece of the pie, so to speak. But right now, I think we just don't have a good policy there. Maybe you do have a policy, but it ought to be in writing.
Right.
I mean, they should have been sent a letter and said, this is why you will not be coming this year, and/or.
Right.
So that's what, and you remember, or you were.
I was a member. And then one thing we also did was,
But I
is
mean,
that,
there's the Lions. If I were a Rotary Club person, I'd say, wait a minute, the Lions has a fair here, why can't we? So are we favoring the Lions over the Rotary Club? I don't want that to be the case either. Everybody's got to be treated equally. That's what I'm saying. Go ahead.
the one thing is, we were putting all this together, when we were putting this date together, we wanted to make sure, at least I did, is that we didn't touch the Rotary's dates. The dates are the most important when the carnival is available. That's why we went, we started the event after the 12th, which fell right into National Transportation Week, which why we worked our Armed Forces Day
But
and
you
all
didn't
those.
give them any kind of communication.
It was only a verbal.
And who did you say that to?
I said it to the president of the Rotary Club, and I said it to the members of that club. I stood up and I explained what was going on, and
Were these two gentlemen there?
I do not recall.
If I can give you a 30-second response, we're not here because we were misinformed. We were very much informed. Verbal, written, we were very much informed. We're here because we no longer have a carnival, and the city has a carnival, and it's keeping the money. You want to boil this down in a nutshell? The city has taken over and has tied in a carnival with their own festival, has kept the money, and we've been squeezed out. That's the bottom line. That's why we're here.
Okay, Henry, I guess
Yep.
the bottom line is, I'll follow up with his bottom line. We need to have a report and
Got it.
have some kind of policy, which is fairness.
Yes.
Right now,
Okay, Henry, then moving along, request from Parks and Rec Director to discuss festival account spending.
Right, okay. With the Warren Birthday Bash is approaching, we want to make sure we keep the DDA informed of all our fundraising efforts to keep this festival a revenue-friendly effort in the city. We operated off of a few fundraisers, working with the VFW, the Village Stinson Post, right on Ryan Road. It was a partner in beer sales at different events during this year. We are always looking for sponsorships to cut down costs and keep this affordable for the city. Finally, most of the staffing that is done with this event is now being used by volunteers, as we are hard at working building a volunteer program. Now, we already have sponsorships from Great Lakes Electronics, Henry Ford Macomb. Our food vendors are already coming in, the Taste of the Community vendors, the Michigan Lottery, Warren's Consolidated Schools, our other sponsors. We're expecting about $39,500 from sponsorships. And then our beer sales, which will be coming up from our Veterans event we held on May 21st. June 10th was our Hot Rod Power Tour event, which poured rain and we still made a couple dollars, but we're anticipating by the end of this bringing in about $8,000 from beer sales for use at the festival. And then our carnival, which will be at City Square right out in front, we're anticipating anywhere from $25,000 to $30,000, giving us a total of about $80,000. We currently have in the bank $50,510. And then we anticipate at this point entertainment costing us about $38,000, ground prep, which would be barricades, porta-johns, stage costs, things like that, being right around $22,000, promotion costing $10,000, which will be a total of about $71,000.